Welcome to Week 8 of the Detroit News High School Football Preview. I'm Rod Beard, and I'm joined by Tom Markowski. And Tom, we're really winding down here toward the end of the season. Week 8 already.
We were both 7 and 8 last week, too, in our picks. I thought we were doing better, Rod, but it seems like we got into an old rut.
It's the up-down theory. It goes, you get a good 12-3 week, and you follow it up with something like that.
There's some tough games, and there's some big games this week with a lot of crossovers, a lot of league championships being decided.
Yeah, a lot to decide. One of those things in the PSL playoffs will start out with Cass Tech, the defending Division I champ at 6-1, playing Detroit King. And it's just weird not to see this on the regular season schedule. This has to be a playoff game this year.
Well, I was disappointed they were not in the same division because this is such a great rivalry. But, you know, looking into the season, I thought they'd either play King in the semis or the championship game, and that's what took place. That being said, King is really desperate for a win here. If they don't win this game, best they'll do is 5-4 this season and might not get into the state playoffs, and that would be a shame because they're really deserving of that. That being said, I don't know if King, I've seen them a couple times. I'm not sure they can stand up to the weight that Cass Tech has, meaning they're big offensive and defensive linemen. Speed-wise, in their passing game, I think King can get some points on the board, but I think they might get worn down on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, Cass won this game 2018 last year. They've taken 3 out of the last 4, and really since they've taken that next step in advancing the state playoffs, they've really dominated this rivalry as well. They looked strong earlier this season with the loss to Orchard Lake St. Mary's, but besides that game, Cass has really cruised along and walked through the rest of the PSL season. 4 shutouts. They only had 1 game that was within 16 points. So this might be the wake-up game that they really need to start getting the momentum going as they move into the state playoffs. Next game in the OAA, 2 7-0 teams, Clarkston and Lake Orion, and this is the one that people have waited for the entire year in the red division there.
You know, this is always a great matchup, and even more so this year. I have Clarkston and Lake Orion as my top 2 ranked Division I teams. We'll see. It's really a strange matchup in the sense that Clarkston is really one-dimensional. They have a big offensive line. They want to run the ball. Lake Orion, on the other hand, has really good speed, and they'll expand the perimeters. They'll test Clarkston out on their corners, and Clarkston is going to have to keep Lake Orion between the tackles and not let them get to the corners if they hope to prevent some of the big plays. You know, it's so weird this time of year. You don't know what the weather's going to be like. Last Friday was really a bad weather night to have a passing game going in. And that's part of the repertoire that Lake Orion needs to win this game, is to get their passing game going. That being said, I'm going to take the road team. I think Clarkston's offensive line does the job and does it just enough. I think it's going to be close, 2017, something of that nature.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Lake Orion on this. Being at home, I think, is going to play the bigger piece of this. The weather aside, I know they need that speed. They need to be able to vary that offensive game. But I think they're ready for Clarkston this year. And again, both of them breezed through the conference schedule in the red. The winner gets Oak Park, and I think the difference in this game, too, is that it's coming in Week 8 instead of Week 9, which it has in previous years. You get another week. Whoever loses this game gets another week to bounce back from this. So I think that's going to play a role. But I like Lake Orion in this game.
And they'll probably play each other again in the state playoffs.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not maybe for the only time that they're going to face each other. Next game in the Catholic League, Detroit Catholic Central 4-3 playing Orchard Lake St. Mary's 6-1. St. Mary's has really been the Cinderella, or not even the Cinderella, the dominant team in the Catholic League this year. CC is maybe on alert. They've got to do something either in this game or the next game. This is a game they almost have to win.
Yes, at 4-3. If they go 4-4, I do not know who their crossover will be. That will be determined by the results of this weekend. That being said, St. Mary's has been really good. Last year they were undefeated in Central Division. They win this game. That'll be consecutive seasons where they've beaten all their opponents in the Central. That's quite remarkable when you consider the opponents they're playing. I really like St. Mary's. I like the running game. Matt Linehan has really come along as a quarterback and really taken charge of that team. This is a really good team, and I'm anxious to see beyond this is how well they can do in the state playoffs, meaning in the regional finals and semis, because early on in the Division III playoffs they won't be tested.
Yeah, and the headline on this is with CC loss, they could miss the playoffs for the first time, I think, since it's 06. So they've got to look back at the schedule and look at that loss to Whitmer, that loss to Cincinnati Moeller as reasons that they're in this pickle that they're in right now.
Yeah, and East Grand Rapids is out of the playoffs. Farmington Hills Harrison is in danger of missing the playoffs. There's some heavyweights that might not make the playoffs.
Yeah, let's move over to the MAC. Macomb, Dakota After that opening loss to Fordson, we kind of wonder what we get from them. They've reeled off 6 straight wins. They've got to play at Chippewa Valley, which is 5-2. This is going to help decide the Red Division as well. Yeah,
but Dakota can wrap up the title outright with a win here. It's going to be tough, obviously, playing at Chippewa. These are big rivals in the same school system. I was disappointed in Chippewa Valley last week, and not so much that they lost to Stevenson, but getting beat 24-7. That's definitely a downer for Coach Scott Merchant's team. Obviously, not much momentum going into this game. Not that they need much in a game like this because it's such a rivalry. I think Dakota has really. It surprised me. I saw them in that first week. They've really turned the corner, so to speak, after that first loss, and really, they are the best team in Macomb County right now.
Last game in the Kensington Lakes, a couple of 6-1 teams, Plymouth and Livonia Stevenson. Plymouth, and I don't know if we can call this an upset anymore. They beat Canton last week, and they're really starting to build. This is only their 9th season, but they're looking like one of the big powers in the state as well.
Yeah, coming into the season, Plymouth was not supposed to be that good. They were supposed to be good, but really not challenging. And granted, they didn't finish first in the South Division, but you know, they lost in a close game to Churchill, but this is a big game for both teams, playoff points-wise. This is the 2 second-place teams from their division. Actually, Stevenson tied for the title, but they have the 2 seed. This is going to be interesting because Plymouth has really come on. They lost that close game. Stevenson really came on strong last week, I thought, against Salem. Really whooped them good, which to me was a big surprise. I thought that was a 3, 4, 5-point game in that situation. Stevenson, I saw their only loss at Northville as a game they could have won, and weather conditions were really bad that evening too. You know, this is really a toss-up. I got to go with Plymouth. I think they're playing their best right now after that loss to Churchill. So we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised to see Stevenson win this game.
Yeah, I like Plymouth as well, but I think Stevenson is going to be up for this game, as they will for the following week in Week 9 when they get Livonia Churchill. So, I mean, for the rest of the way, they've got those 2 games and then the playoffs that they've really got to be up for. Come back to us and see us online at detnews.com/highschools for all of our high school coverage, including our Friday, Saturday coverage of all of these rivalry games. And again, games that impact the playoffs as we move forward. For Tom Markowski, I'm Rod Beard. We'll see you next week.